This is more complicated than you think. My gosh. Wish they'd make this stuff simpler. Is anybody there? Stream is healthy. No data. What does that mean? Anybody home? Darn it. Hey, there, I finally found somebody. Can you hear me? This is mainly trying to fix my audio. Mr. Skywalker. You hear me okay? Oh, that's great. Finally. Well, I don't know what happened. The last time I had no audio and I ended up with 20 or 30 people all of a sudden. That was a shock to me that nobody could hear me. Is there a lady saying something about what is this company? Wirecast? Can you hear anybody saying Wirecast? Okay. Well, that's good. Well, this is going to be fun. I never thought of doing this. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I just was experimenting, and I'm going to set something up for Saturday, I think, at probably noon, because I have a lot of European subscribers, and it'll be 7 o'clock at night over there. So I'll try to get them all involved. But this could be fun. I mean, answer a lot of questions about amps. I don't know if you can see that funky old capacitor that I put on the thumbnail, but those are old ones that I pulled out of my old basement amps, and you don't want them to look like that. That's what happens when they start leaking and they're bad. But I learned all that stuff on my own, so I encourage you guys to learn if you ever get an amp that you can work on. Some of the new amps now, they're like new cars, you can't work on them. But all right, anybody there besides Scott and Skywalker? And good thing is you guys can hear me. And I'll make an announcement. I'll give you guys a couple of days warning, and we can go over get a list of Hendrix songs you might want me to work on. I've got quite a long list right now. Yeah. I was scared too. You should have seen me the first few times with my meter. I don't have it. I've got it back here with those two metal conductors going into an amp with 400 something volts. I was scared to death. There were a few times sparks flew and I jumped, but it's you get used to it. It takes a few times. Cool. Hey, this is great. Well, I appreciate you guys subscribing and putting up with me. I don't know, some of you guys saw me get yelled at the other night by my wife and my son. I had my amps going too loud, and I was probably getting yelled at by my neighbors too and didn't know it. But okay, well, shoot, I might hang on here. This is starting to become fun here. Uh, got 5 people on there, so well, I'll have to start thinking of things that we can do. Mainly answer questions. That's the easiest thing right now, but I see Von Peedler. Where are you, Von Peedler? Are you in the U.S.? Oh yeah, that's Mr. Skywalker. I knew that would be a problem. The English. I have a lot of Spanish subscribers and Portuguese, and it's hard. I know, and especially if we're going fast. But I appreciate. I always. I love hearing from all the other parts of the world. That's what I love about YouTube. Eh, Zeppelin. I love Zeppelin. I don't like playing it. I mean, because I don't have the equipment. I mean, if I had the Les Paul, and I'm not really that type of guitar player. That's I guess one reason I latched on to Hendrix so much is because that's just the way I like to play. That's my style. Florida, but I did pull out some of my old vinyl records and we've got some Zeppelin in there. I've only got Zeppelin 3 and what's the I don't know. I've got a couple, but I don't have Zeppelin 2. And my favorite is the first album. I'll never forget when I first heard that album. Communication Breakdown and all that. That's my favorite. But no, I did get a bunch of Robin Trower CDs when I got my Hendrix collection, and I haven't listened to them yet. I did watch a couple of videos, and for some reason, I don't care for Robin because I grew up with Robin when he first came out, and I always thought he was the first Hendrix wannabe, and that kind of turned me off. And he just wasn't Hendrix, and nobody is. But I'll have to give it I keep an open mind with everything. I mean, I'm listening to big band stuff now. Oh yeah, J.J. Cale. I only appreciate JJ's because Eric Clapton loved him so much, and I like his songs. I never well we did play Cocaine and a couple of his songs that are really good, but just with the band that I was with, we played a few of his songs. But right now I'm just a Hendrix nut, and hey, I'm glad too. I just thought about it today of all things, but I didn't realize it was so complicated that you had to download software. But I've got it working, so we're good to go now. Newer blues artist, man, I don't know if the I'm kind of a Gary Clark fan just because I know Zapata, his rhythm guitar player, and but I don't know. There's something about his music. I like his music, and I think he's really doing well. But it's really got to hit me. Some of the songs just seem to drone a lot. I think he could do better songs. Yeah, like I said, I have to listen to Robin a little more. Um, I think the other thing is Robin. I didn't, at first I thought he was singing, but that's another amazing thing is watching Jimmy sing, even though he didn't think he could sing, but sing and play like he does at the same time is just amazing. Favorite Hendrix song at the moment? Boy, I'm just getting into all the live stuff and all the bootleg stuff. I like the live stuff because there's no there are no studio gimmicks or studio tricks, so I know that I could play it if I could if I could play like Jimmy. At least I've got it hope. I don't have to have all that swirling, crazy sounds that he gets in the studio. And that's why I like the live stuff. But almost every song I listen to, I like. I learned the amplifier repair on my own. And that's what I'm saying. That's what started this. Well, no, that's not exactly what started this channel, but I did. I lost a ton of weight. I think this camera makes me look skinny. But no, I learned it all from reading books. And I did have a couple of friends that helped me. When I was in a panic, I called Gerald Weber, and he's nice enough to give me advice over the phone for free. I mean, some of those guys will help you out. Even if you don't buy anything, you just have to ask them. And I mean, I was in some serious panics, and just they walked me through a few repairs, and I finally got more confidence and learned more stuff. Read books, read their books. I bought all kinds of amp books. There's some of them behind me. Let's see. This is one. Oh, let's see. Where is it? This one. This one I don't ever mention much, but it's got a lot of good information in it too. Guitar Amp Handbook by Dave Hunter. Oops. It's got good information. They all have good information, but this one I built an amp. The only amp I ever built came out of this book. It was a kit. And it sounds okay. I don't really play it. It's not even in this room now. It's too small for me. Band of Gypsies. Yeah, I love Band of Gypsies. That's what I mean. I played that album, the live one here, for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I just over and over and over, just going through each song. Are You Experienced from the Winterland Live album? Yeah. See, the live stuff, that's good because you can maybe attempt to get it to sound halfway decent. Belly Button Window. Yeah, Uncle Doug's. Matt was saying watch the Uncle Doug videos on YouTube if you want to learn amp repair. I've never watched it because I'd already kind of learned what I needed to know. And I've still got tons to learn. But I learned enough to get them all working and to keep them from making crazy sounds. I mean, they'll make a lot of nutty sounds, and half the time you'll find out it's just a bad tube or a tube socket. So a lot of it's easy. On the old amps, that's what's so cool about them. There's the solder joints and wire and tubes and components, and you just touch them with a wooden stick and figure out where it's loose. And most of it's just simple common sense if you have any kind of repair skills at all. But yeah, see this is what I want to do. Shoot, I'll be on here all night now. You guys got me going, but I need to get my wife in here on the next one, and somehow I've got to track all of these suggestions. No, I never saw Hendrix live. That was one of my regrets. I don't know if I was old enough. He was a little bit older. I just missed him. I know one of the bass player I played with, and he's about 5 years older than me. He saw him, but I never had the opportunity. I know when I first started listening to him, my grandparents thought I was crazy. They thought he was the devil music, and I was pretty young. I was probably 13, 14. And so I never got a chance. I think the first group I ever got to see, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of them, Mountain, and of all things, Black Sabbath was their opening act with Ozzy Osbourne. That was in Houston. Winterland CD set. Oh man, this is going to be cool. Now, what's that? Well, Garrett, what do you mean like effects are insane? Oh, I must have missed another comment. Yeah, I'm not that old. Like I said, I never had the opportunity. I don't think he toured after I finally realized that I would have wanted to see him. But oh, Mississippi Queen, yeah. When I was blown away when I went to see Mountain and Leslie West, and as the first time I knew anybody could make a guitar sound like a violin. All of a sudden, I hear this huge violin coming out of these stacks of Marshalls, and I go, "What the? How did he do that?" And yeah, Felix Papalardi, that was a great group. I have their album, but it's worn out. All of my albums are worn out. My dad's albums are in perfect, pristine shape. That shows how much I take care of my albums. Everybody was stomping on them at parties. Leslie West, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I had a Gibson guitar, which I'm kind of hopefully I don't offend anybody. I'm kind of an anti-Gibson guy because I had a Les Paul. That was one of my first guitars, and it was such a lemon, but part of that was my fault. I bought one of those fretless wonders, and I didn't realize you had to have frets on a guitar neck to bend the strings, and that's all I like to do. And I couldn't bend strings on that thing for anything. I hated it. But I wish I had a Les Paul Jr. with the one pickup. That'd be my only Gibson. Sabbath, no. I mean, I do like the early stuff. Hey, if you want to hear a crazy story, I actually played with Bill Ward, the drummer for Black Sabbath. If you could, I mean, I just realized I forgot all about that, and that was in California. That's a funny story. We were jam. We had a little band going right down at the beach in Seal Beach. That's where I moved out there and lived for about 15 years. And I met some friends, and we were just half a block off the beach in a little garage. And this guy came over, and he heard us jamming. He said, "Man, I'd like to jam with you guys someday." And so, yeah, sure, come on over. It was friggin' Bill Ward, Black Sabbath. He had been kicked out of the band by then. And when he walked in, all we wanted to do was play Sabbath songs. That he didn't want to hear a Sabbath song. That was the last thing he wanted to do. But we forced him into it. That's pretty funny. Will Rogers Auditorium. Man, see, I'll get all kinds of tips off of this stuff. No, I'm going to have to, you guys remember all this. I'm going to have to, I don't know. I wish they would record all the comments. Maybe they do. That's the part I don't know yet. Epiphone Juniors. Bones for sure. Shoot, yeah. The last thing I need right now is another amp or another guitar. That's why I am just going to live with what I've got and play. And that's kind of what I encourage you guys to do. I mean, I sit there and try to copy all this Hendrix stuff, but it really is just a matter of finding yourself and doing what you think sounds good to you. But, you know, try to be different. Oh, yeah, a 59 Strat, that's what I need. But, yeah, Bill Ward, that was pretty cool. I totally blanked that out. He had his huge drum set, but he never brought it over. It wouldn't even have fit in the garage, I don't think. But what? You bought a 59 Strat? No. That's the last thing I need. I'm starting to figure out, and that's one thing I might be able to help you guys with. You know, I've got all this vintage stuff, and I've got new guitars, and what am I playing right now? My new guitar, my new Hendrix guitar. Just because it's got a cool sound to it. You actually don't need the vintage guitars. I mean, you need a good new guitar. I mean, those Nashes aren't cheap. They're about $1,900, you know, so you got to pay, but you can get a good new guitar. Yeah, what's the funny story? Yeah, that Killing Floor, I was kind of shocked. Oh yeah, I have seen your 59. That's right. It's been a while. That's what seeing everybody on here is like going into a room and forgetting everybody's name, and you're going and you're just in a panic. I know I probably talk to all you guys all the time, and I just forget. But yeah, that killing floor, the speed that he plays that at is just that's unbelievable. I don't know how. I'm always amazed that the bass player and the drummer are able to keep up, but they never miss a beat. They were just as good as he was. Um, Black Corvo, hey man, this is from Brazil. Oh yeah, Brazil. I think we're on the same time zone, so that's cool. Um, yeah, I don't know any Portuguese, but I did go to Portugal in June. I love that place. That was cool. Nothing but beach. The whole west coast is nothing but beach and 200 something surfing spots. Oh yeah, Chuck Berry was an ass. You know, we went. I never realized he was such a dick, but excuse my language. But I went to see him here not that long ago, maybe within the last 10 years in New Orleans. And he stopped. Well, first of all, he would just play nothing. He would just bang on the guitar. He would just no chords, no, and you go, what the hell's he doing? And then he would stop playing and look at the cameraman, and some guy down there filming. He said, "I told you not to film." And he would stop in the middle of a song, and he did that several times. I said, "Geez, Louise, man, what's wrong with this guy?" So yeah, I'm not surprised he yelled at you. There was a guy here that was a good friend. Actually, I knew him, and he was a wacko, but his whole act at these little blues bars was to, I think it was to play harmonica while he was standing on his head. I forgot his name now. My son knows it. And he used to dance for. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Chuck Berry. It was Little Richard. I'm sorry. He was playing with Little Richard for a while. Showman. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You mean Chuck Berry? He was burned out. I mean, when he was young. I mean, I'm sure he was pretty cool, but he was a rough son of a gun. You ever watch that video of him with Keith Richards when Keith was trying to get them back together and play? And I mean, he just chewed Keith up and down all the time. He wasn't playing correctly and all this stuff. Oh, Junior Brown. Oh man, I love Junior Brown. Oh boy. Every summer. Yeah. Yeah, Junior Brown. I saw him. I took my dad to see him at the House of Blues in New Orleans. And he had two twin reverb amps. I was sitting right in the center. And that was one of the loudest concerts I've ever been to. And he would play Hendrix too. You know how he is. He can play Hendrix. He can play anything. But he had those two twins cranked, and that was the cleanest, loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I thought I was deaf after that. Yeah. 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 Keith and Chuck. I mean, well, that's kind of, you see Chuck's personality in that video. I'm going, geez, I don't know. How did anybody play with him? Well, he played by himself a lot. Well, hell, this is too much fun. I may just stay on here forever. Oh yeah, no monitors. I can understand. I mean, I would guess he would need them if he was in a big place. Actually, Junior, he was there. He was there that night that I saw Chuck Berry. There was a bunch of people there. I think B.B. King was there. That was good. That was a good show. Junior opened up. He was way at the beginning. And Eric Clapton was there. I forgot about that. Eric was, I don't know, I didn't realize he had that disease, but this was years ago, and he was just a deadhead. And he got up there, he never said one word to the audience. I couldn't believe it. And it was just kind of disappointing. I mean, his playing was great. Um, Bonamassa. Yeah, yeah. I'm keeping up with Bonamassa. I got him. He and his Tweed twins. Uh, and I don't like the way they sound. It's some damn Gibsons. That's why I say I can't. I'm just a Gibson basher. I mean, I'll probably lose a whole bunch of you guys, but they're too heavy. They drive the amp too hard. They're always distorted. I mean, that's why I love Hendrix. I mean, you listen to that Voodoo Child on Are You Experienced, and those big, huge, clean, piano-like bass notes that he hits is just the most beautiful thing in the world. And Bonamassa's burning those amps up with the dang humbuckers, I just get it. I think he probably does play a Stratocaster sometime during the night. I don't know. But yeah, he's kind of wasting those twins. I mean, I'd rather listen to Keith and his twins and his Telecaster. But he had some basement. He had two basement and two twins there for a while, but now he's got his own signature twin that just came out, and I think he's using a couple of those. A 55 Strat? Yeah, yeah. I know he uses a Strat, but he's really stuck. Yeah, P90s. I agree. The P90s. Exactly. Yeah, when Bonamassa came out in the beginning, man, he really caught my ear on the radio. He was playing more pure blues stuff. Jeez, I watched one of those shows on TV the other night when you had all those crazy people in the back and the cello player, and he's playing acoustic. I turned it off like in 2 seconds. I was like, what the? Acoustic? I mean, I know you guys probably like acoustic, but I'm strictly electric. Oh, yeah. I know that. I mean, I saw John Bollinger, Premier Guitar. That's why I was bummed out about the Basement demo, because he was talking about the early breakup, and he's got his 335, and he's sitting there playing all the 58, 59, and a 60 Basement, and they sound so good, they're distorted and everything. I said, God, man, you're distorting them. They're a clean amp. And put some single coils on there, and it'll sound wonderful. Oh, wait. During that horrible incident. Yeah, you mean the one in Barcelona? But yeah, we almost went there, but it would have been a couple of weeks before the terrorist attack. Now they're trying to secede from the Spanish government, and that's still a mess over there. We were thinking about going to Madrid at Christmas, but we changed our mind for now. Right now? Well, no, it's too late here. I mean, my electrics are just kind of funky sounding without that big monster amp. Wonky phase options. I love my tweeds with humbuckers and single coils. And acoustic, yeah, not really. I have one. I have a Martin, and I don't even know where it is right now. I think it's in my son's bedroom or something. But first of all, they're too hard to play for me. My hands aren't that strong anymore. I mean, the Martins are okay, but I'm just a high powered, high volume. I mean, probably if I had my chance, I would be up there with the same exact double Marshall stacks, easy. If I could get the right Marshalls that sound clean, not this distorted Marshall sound that everybody likes to do. But yeah, the next videos, shoot, what was I gonna do? I'm not sure. I've been working on a few of the Hendrix songs, and I was gonna redo "Still Raining, Still Dreaming," but I don't know. That song. I hate doing those because I don't want you guys to just once you get stuck on trying to play somebody else's lick note for note, you just kind of lost yourself. You end up having to play it like that forever and ever. And that's one thing Jimmy absolutely never did was play his own stuff the same again twice ever. So you don't want to do that. But so I don't know what my next video is. I really don't. I'll come up with something. Um, I don't know. The Marshall stacks right now, two of them would probably be at least $20,000. And I saw some old super leads the other day for 8 to 10,000 or something, but I'm not sure that had the speaker cabinets with it. I mean, you have to have the right speaker cabinets too. Yeah, yeah, that and that the thing I love about that song so much is the way he uses his wah wah. It's still raining. That's my favorite wah wah part of all songs ever. The way he does his wah wah in that. Any new hardwired amps? Yeah, I mean, I demoed that. What was it? The Grammatico Bassman, and I looked in there, and I mean, it looked exactly like my amps, except it had all new stuff and new components. And I'd buy one of those, yeah, because good thing about those is you can switch things out and experiment a little bit if you want to. Um, Not that I mean, I'd have to buy old parts, and some of those old parts you just can't find. I mean, those Astron capacitors just don't exist anymore. If you buy them on eBay, they're probably already shot and leaking. Build your own. Yeah. I still don't think I could make it. There's no way I could make it sound like the real thing. I've been through that. I've played the masters that have tried to copy the Bassman. I mean, poor John Grammatico. He wanted his amp to sound like my 60 Bassman so bad, and I did too, because I said, shoot, then I can put this thing away and I just buy a new one and not have to worry about it. But you can't duplicate the old wood, the old speakers, the old everything. Um, so building your own would just sound like a sterile. It would just sound sterile. I've even been through that with just trying to switch capacitors on my Bassman. I mean, I've sterilized those things in a heartbeat going, what did I do? So you have to be careful, but new parts, I doubt it. I could make it sound good. Solid state. No, but I know there's a lot of solid state out there. Uh, I think the first amp I ever had was a solid state, but that was centuries ago, and it was called a Heath kit. They still have those things around, but it was a kit that you buy, and that's all my dad would buy me. So that's actually probably where I got my soldering start. Oh, sub miniature tubes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Tubes are a real pain, I tell you. Midnight. I don't know if Midnight is that the whole name on the Hendrix song. Shoot, how many amps do I have right now? 7 or 8, not outrageous amount. 6, 7. The blonde baseman's in the other room. 7. I think I have 8, and then wait, I got this thing. Oh, this is the only Marshall I've got. You guys will get a kick out of this. This is my Marshall. That's my Marshall half stack. And it doesn't sound that bad, actually. I did a video with it on there. Yeah, I know. Actually, Grammatico, and I probably shouldn't say this, but he sent a 64 Viberverb copy that he had built. And there was such a difference in my original and his that I didn't even post the video. He didn't want me to. He wanted to go back and tweak it some more. Because, I mean, the original Viberverb with the JBL was so bright and crisp and clean, and theirs were too mid-rangey and just didn't sound right. Midnight. Oh, okay. I think I did listen to that. I think so. Yeah, you may have told me about it, Scott. Geez, you guys are gonna keep me up all night. I'm gonna build a. Oh, you're gonna build a inside a Broken Dan Electro Honeytone. Now that doesn't sound like a bad amp. That sounds pretty cool. You know, it's surprising that who was it? Oh man, it was who's the famous guitar player for David Bowie? Bronson? I was watching that video of him the other night, and he just walked into Nashville in the studio and played Gene Genie on just some little, probably a champ. He made it sound so good. So, some reason in the studio, they love those little amps, and they do sound good, but I don't think Jimmy was using a champ in a dang studio. Yeah, I know. You got the 64. That's a cool amp. I mean, I get on my blackface phase every once in a while. I'm trying, yeah, Mick Ronson. I'm trying to stay away from. I'm not staying away from them. I'm just loving the basement amp so much right now. But the super reverbs and that Viberverb, they just sound wonderful. I get all 3 of those going, and I sit right in the middle, and it's mind blowing. Nah, not any of my. I wouldn't sell any that. Nothing that was worth anything. I might sell my Marshall, but you're not going to want the Marshall. Yeah, maybe the one I built, but I kind of have I kind of like that one just since I built it, but you know what I'm really looking for right now, and everybody's tried to copy the darn things, but I want an Echoplex. EP1 or 2. I don't know. I played one years ago, and it may have been an EP3 or 4, which was solid state, but I'm not sure. And I heard that the tube ones sound better, and I can't remember what I played, but those things are magic. And that's what I'm looking for. But they want $1,500 to $1,700 for those things. Yeah, the $700 amp. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Yeah, you'll buy the ass man for any price. Yeah. Guy. Okay. Good night, Matt. But sometimes like the vintage super reverbs, I think it's probably one of the best vintage deals out there. People don't, and not even the blackface, but the silver face ones can be a great amp. A really good amp, but you're still going to probably pay close to $1,200 to $1,500. But Yeah, there's not too many vintage amps out there that you can afford, but I don't know. The $700 uh, hand wired amp. I'd have to look into that. Most of those things are so expensive. Those Grammaticos are $2,800. The Bassman clones, and so are the Victorias. I mean, they're all expensive, but not as much as. I mean, hell, I could probably sell that 60 right now for at least 8,000. I think the value's gone up just from all the videos on YouTube. Best years of amps? Hey, anywhere from probably 58 to 1969, I'm thinking. Maybe even 70, but probably 69. The Silver Face, right at the beginning of the Silver Face. There's some that aren't that great in there, but pretty cool. I mean, they got the brown era. I didn't get into that. You know, I don't have any brown ones. I just don't like those. Zapata had a couple of brown concerts, and he didn't keep them very long, but I didn't think they sounded very good for some reason. Favorite practice amp is my Bassman. I mean, that's all I play is that big ass amp, big ass man. A tube amp that can get an approximate Hendrix tone. Well, that's why every time somebody asks me that, I always tell them that you just need a big ass amp. You need the biggest, most powerful, cleanest thing you can get, and you know that's not the way it's gonna. That's just pretty hard to do in an apartment or something. But that's unless you get a. You know, I've heard of some of these. What are those amp modelers? I forgot what they call them, but those are actually pretty good, but they're not really tube amps. You know, they just simulators. I call them. Yeah. Okay. I gotta go to. Yeah. Actually, I don't have to work tomorrow, which is kind of cool. But Fuzzface, you know, I've never played a Big Muff, but I love my Fuzzface, my little mini. I mean, that thing's been great. I've had some other fuzzes, and for some reason, I went back to the Fuzzface just because I thought it had a little more output and it was cleaned up a little better. I really wish I had an original one. Yeah, well, I appreciate all you guys. I mean, I wish I had a better way of keeping track of everybody. I know probably a hand, well, maybe 10, 15 people by name now, and you would think I would know a lot more out of, shoot, what is it, 60, I mean, 6,000 something subscribers now. Oh, the Peacock. I've got it. That's one. It's in there. I've still got it. It's working. I was having a little issue with it, but I think it's okay. But that's one thing about me is I'm just such a try to keep it as simple as possible. I mean, I had a couple of other things down there that I thought were sounding really good and they're really nice effects. But when gets right down to it, all I need for that Bassman amp is a little OCD overdrive and a wall. That's about all I need. The only thing I add to it is the fuzz, and it just sounds so much better. It's just a fuller sound. I don't really need to muddle it up. And those other things are great, but it you just have. That's why I always preach keep it simple. So people, when you see their boards and they got 15 effects on there, shoot, you're losing half your signal by the time you get to the other end. You got to boost it. It's like, and if you get rid of all that stuff, if they were to ever just get rid of all that stuff and plug into the amp again, they go, "Holy crap! I can't believe I'm missing all that sound all these years." So, um, octave fuzzes. Well, I built that Tyco Tycho Brahe, whatever they call it, Octavia, and that thing's pretty complicated. It's got 3 adjustments, and you really have to fine tune that thing. Everything's real sensitive on it, but I can get some really cool sounds out of that thing. But still, there's sometimes when I hear Jimmy playing his, and there was something in there that he was doing. I don't know if it was Mayer, his amp tech or whatever, that had that thing going like he did, but he could get some really cool octave sounds. Yeah, that Octafuzz I never tried. I had the Ultimate Octave. I probably bought the wrong one. It was Full Tone Ultimate Octave. I've still got it, and it had a pretty cool fuzz on it. But once I got the mini fuzz face, I put it in the box too. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't consider the the wah pedal. It's an effect, but it's you don't use it that much, so it doesn't really get in the way. An Echoplex, if you turn it off, it gives you that built-in preamp, which is the secret to those things. It boosts your signal and makes it sound really good. And so does my vibe. So even though I can hit my vibe and not have it on, and it still boosts the signal and it gives it a certain character, and it makes it interact with everything differently. So there's such a variety of sounds that you can get. But for the most part, the signal's just going straight through, and maybe the only thing that's on is the OCD until I hit the wah wah or something. So, that's why I think that the true bypass is pretty helpful when you start hooking more than 4 or 5 of those things together. And the way I learned that was I had an original Ibanez TS 808, and I played it for a long time. And then one day somebody said the OCD was better, and I bought one and I plugged it in. I couldn't believe the difference between when they were off. The TS 808 was sucking so much tone that when it was off, the guitar sounded like crap. It really sounded bad. So the OCD cured all that. That's when I learned about true bypass. Buddy Guy Fuzz, no, I haven't. But that's another thing I try not to do is chase every single effect out there. There's only a couple of 100,000. I sit there and watch. Oh God, I hate to describe him like this. The guy. Oh man, what's his? I just watch him. I almost watch him every day. Let me look. Let me look at his name real quick. You guys probably know him. He posts video, but he does a demo almost every day, and he makes everything seem like it's what you got to have, and I hate doing that because you don't need anything. You just need a good amp and a good guitar and maybe 1 or 2 effects, and leave it at that and just play the rest of the time. Oh, what's his name? You guys know him. He's a pretty good guitar player, but I sit there and watch him with Phil X and is it Phil X? And those guys jamming, and they've all got that same kind of high gain sound, and I just really don't care for that sound. Oh God, I've lost everything here. I know his name pretty good, and now I can't think of it. But either way, he's on there doing demos every day almost, and there's just too many effects. You just gotta keep it simple. And maybe that's why I can help you guys. But you really do have to start with an amp. I see people go in the opposite direction. They'll have one amp and 15, 20 guitars, and you'll see me with one guitar and 15 or 20 amps, because that's where you get your sound is from your amp. And I know the amps are probably more some of them are more expensive than guitars, but and like Keith Richards says, it's the magic combination of the right guitar with the right amp. That's where you get the magic. Anyway, I can't find a guy, but he's a great guitar player too. But they all have that high gain sound, and I just don't like that sound that much. Now I'm getting off subject here. How did I miss? All right. Well, either way, hopefully I can get you guys to keep it simple. Sometimes mine doesn't look that simple, but I'm telling you, every time you add one effect, you're creating problems. Yeah, that I can understand that too about having too many true bypass. No, it wasn't Gearman, dude. It was Pete Thorne. That's it, I think. Yeah, Pete Thorne. But yeah, I've heard about that. Too many true bypasses. But that's why I just keep it down to 3 or 4. And I think one of my secrets that really helps me a lot is my amp switcher pedal, which is a great one. It was designed by Peter Frampton, and I've told people about it. I know that the rhythm guitar player for Aerosmith, now I forgot his name, but he used one, and it has a buffer circuit in it, which buffers the signal. Once all my effects go into it, it buffers the signal to low impedance, so I can run long cable runs to all my amps anywhere, and it doesn't affect the tone. And I think that really does help me when I just, in this room, just going to any amp. I think I gain maybe some signal back going through that amp switcher. It doesn't boost it, but it just kind of neutralizes maybe the effects of the true bypass if I've got too many of them. Yeah, buffered. Yeah, and boy, I've been down that path trying to get my darn wah wah to work in front of my fuzz. I gave up on that, but I love the way it sounds now. You guys heard it. Well, in Still Raining, I didn't have my fuzz on, so that does make a difference. I mean, the cleaner you can play your amp and your guitar, I mean, just a fuzz through the amp is the best sound. Fuzz through an overdrive is the next best sound. After that, you start messing with your wah wah sound. But if you can get it to where you can crank your amp and have your wah wah and that's it, it's going to sound the best. But oh boy, Basement or Plexi? I think Basement just because I don't want to haul around that damn Marshall. I had a half stack before. They're just a pain in the butt to move around. I mean, the Basement's light. But I do like the 412s. But those cabinets are backbreakers. They're unreal. I hauled one of those around for a while. That was the worst amp I ever bought, but I bought it in 1980, and it was when they were making them really bad. Half stack. Yeah, you could. I mean, Wawa is kind of second nature playing, and you get the hang of it. And the different wah-wahs make a difference in the way you play too. I specifically want a wah-wah that's got a short throw, I call it, where you just barely have to move it, and that's the way the originals were. You just where's my camera? You just barely want to move the pedal, and you could just sit there like this and just barely move your foot and get it to do what you need it to do. I remember I tried a full tone once, and he had this huge sweep on it, And you couldn't even get it to do anything because you had to move your foot like this. So it really depends on which wah you get. You have to get the right one. And that's what I actually have with my other Clyde clone back at in Michigan being worked on. So Area 51 is going to soup it up for me a little bit and see if he can make it sound a little better. He's got a better pot now. Yeah, wah-wahs are overused, but I love them because you can make the dang thing talk. Go look. I mean, that's why I love Still Raining, Still Dreaming so much, is because that's the only time I've heard a wah wah talk. I mean, Hendrix makes the dang thing talk. He's sitting there, wow, wow, what do you want? I don't know what he's saying, but he's talking with it. Older gear. Older gear, using it, I would love it, but I keep thinking, okay, let's go on tour here, and I'm going to pack up my old '60 Bassman and take it on the road. I don't know. Bonamassa does it, so if he can do it, I can do it. But boy, you have to baby those things. I mean, they're tough. Look, they made it this far, and but you really do have to take care of them, and then you also have to watch them because people just want to steal them. I got another cool story. I was in. I went to Washington D.C. a couple of years ago, 4th of July. I was a special guest of Zapata. Gary Clark was playing at the 4th of July concert with Foo Fighters, and so was Buddy Guy. And I knew Buddy Guy's amp tech, and he was staying in the same hotel we were staying at. My wife and I were there, first time in Washington D.C., and we're in the hotel, and I see Buddy's bus downstairs. I go, what the hell? He's staying in our hotel. So I go down there, and I see, forgot his name, but the amp tech, super nice guy. And he couldn't really talk to me at the time because he was taking all of Buddy's equipment out of the bus and putting it in the hotel's vault. So that's how you have to take care of that stuff. You have to put it in a vault every night. And I had a friend, Mike Zito, who tours, and you might know him. He's from St. Louis. I know you probably know. And I always see Raul Sue. I forgot your first name. I hate to call you Raul Sue, but you might be gone. Either way, Mike Zito, they travel around with everything in a trailer, and they had everything stolen. All their gear. Yeah, had everything ripped off in a little funky hotel. You know, it looked like a Days Inn or something where they were staying because they're on the road. Yeah, and then poor Mike. I mean, he was so bummed. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple of months ago. And as people started sending him new equipment and everything. But that's, me and my '60 Bassman out on the road. I'd love to take it, but I'd have to hire somebody just to strap it to themselves and never take their eyes off of it. Average price of a wah-wah? Yeah, 150. I mean, the Area 51s that I like, I'm not sure what he's charging now. But you can also get little kits. Like if you had, well, you don't have a pedal, but if you had an old pedal, you can buy a new updated kit that might sound better, and you just put it in your old shell, and it sounds great. That's what I'm using now. That's what was on that video, my last few videos, because like I said, my Clyde clone's in Michigan right now. Shoot, I don't know. The Blues Junior is pretty cool. I don't know what the 3 is. I know a lot of people use those things. I have to look into the 3. But when all the legendary older guitarists die, I think there's going to be a movement where the kids are going to want to hear that music again, and they're going to start learning how to do it all over again. I would hope. I mean, when we were living in the late '60s, we thought, oh my gosh, can you imagine how much better the music's going to be 10 or 20 years from now? We didn't realize we were at the end of the musical genesis. I don't know what you would call it. It died out. Then all of a sudden we had disco and just went downhill from there. Now it's nothing but auto tune and computers. It's sad. Yeah, well, I don't know. The audiences just aren't there anymore. I mean, you can't take these big, old, huge, loud groups out there and go on tour and make any money. I mean, I know my son loves all that stuff. You know, he's a young guy and he got into it. He realized how good that music was, but I don't know. I hope somebody takes the torch and keeps going with it. I mean, I'm gonna the worst one for me right now is when Buddy Guy dies. I love that guy, and he is such a great. I mean, he's one that really started a lot of it. I mean, Jimi Hendrix would go and drool over him when he was in his heyday. You know, he'd go sit there and watch Buddy. Buddy started a lot of that stuff, along with Albert King and all those guys. Yeah, yeah. The deluxe reverb is a good amp. I remember I had a friend. I was going to play with him at a outdoor thing, and I heard him when I was pulling up. And I said, "Man, that amp sounds good." He was miking it, but it sounded really good. I mean, you have to mic them, but the deluxe reverb is nice. Yeah, yeah. That is a good amp. Is that the? Oh yeah, yours is original. I'm talking about the reissue. Is pretty cool. Parker Griggs. Wow. I need to write. I write these down because Parker Griggs. I check these guys out. Because I mean, how can you duplicate some of these greats that we've grown up with? They only come once in a lifetime. It seems like. Yeah, you were listening to Hendrix and nobody knew who he was. That, yeah, yeah, it's sad. I mean, my wife, she can't stand him. You probably understand why. She, I hate that when you start squealing. He goes, yee, 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 yee. I said, that's magic. And her brothers, they loved him. They drove her mother crazy 30, 40 years ago listening to him constantly. Yeah, Radio Moscow. Buying today's basement, probably not. Probably not. Radio Moscow. I played one once, and when my first impression was, man, this thing kicks butt. But yeah, I don't know. They're just not the same thing. I would rather buy a basement clone made by a good company, like the Grammatico or the Victoria or the Car, I think, makes one. You have to get the right one that has the right components. Tax free. Oh yeah, I like that song. Tax free. See what else. Randy Holden. I don't know. For some reason, that sounds familiar. Uh, yeah. No, I haven't. I don't think I've heard of him. You can play anything in E. I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, it's taken me forever to try to get all I can ever say, and I mean that's just me, is to play as much as you can and just kind of feel your way around the neck to where you don't even have to think about it. But it's tough to do. I think that's what Jimmy did. I mean, that guy knew where everything was, and I don't. But he did a lot of studio work. I mean, he played with Little Richard. He played with a lot of bands. I mean, he was just super talented. And by the time he was done, he knew that neck. He knew every note on it. And that's all I mean, it's taken me forever to just play and play and play the pentatonic patterns till I finally broke myself out of that stinking first pattern that I played in probably for the first 15 years and finally got to where I can go around in different positions and then but scales, I'm not much of a scale guy. When I see Jimmy doing what he does with the pentatonic scale, I just go, that's all I need. Screw those scales, man. I just want pentatonic, 5 notes. That's all I want. If he could do it, that's all I care about, and that's what I want to do. Yeah, second language was guitar. His first language was guitar. What lady? Oh, that's Hendrix, I think. Well, for a minute there, I thought my wife was spying on me. Weird, yeah, yeah. Maybe it was my wife. Hey, no peeking in here. Yeah, she probably stuck her head in the door. Blue suede shoes, yeah. That's it. That's all you need. Those dang 5 notes. Those the 5 notes. That's what's so amazing. Once you really start to appreciate the pentatonic scale, it's you go through all this stuff. You try to learn all the major scales, minor scales, all these scales, whole tone. I mean, just I took some jazz in college and stuff, and then all of a sudden you go back and you see the beauty of this 5 note scale, and you go, what? That's it. That's all you need. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Well, hell, this has been super fun. How long have I been? Over an hour. Yeah, yeah. That I mean, Stevie. Boy, he really brought things back. Can't replace those guys. It's sad. I mean, I went to Austin. I hung out with Double Trouble, and it was just so sad because it was just like this whole beautiful universe just melted apart, once he was gone. I mean, I sat backstage at Antone's with Tommy Shannon and Chris Layton and a bunch of, not a bunch, but some other people and a photographer that had photographed all their concerts, and he brought these huge photo albums, and they all just sat there reminiscing of the old days, the good old days when Stevie was there, and I remember that concert. I remember when we did that, and I was just sitting there going, how sad, man. It was pretty cool, but yeah, they've got some good people. Buddy Guy's got that young kid who's really pretty good, but you've got to have something. Buddy Guy just has that charisma. Jimmy had the charisma. A lot of people, those guys had that charisma. Stevie had the charisma. Bonamassa doesn't have the charisma. You can tell the difference. He's so stuck on the scales and playing as fast as he can that he's missing the boat, and he knows it. He would love to get past that, but you can't replace that God given gift. I don't know where the next one's coming from. It's few and far between right now. Both, let's see, yeah, Shredder. Red Box. Soft Girl. Yeah. Those are new bands. Um, there was a comment. What did I miss? Shoot, that's a tough one. My favorite guitar. They are like children. I've had other guys tell me that. Oh, they're like children. They all are different, and I love them all for different things. But I guess the black one. I can. I mean, and I mean, this one's got the most mojo of all my guitars. It's just worn in. It's beat up. I tried to figure out. I was looking at all this stuff on here, and see this mark right there. You see that? Where is it? Right there. I was trying. What the? I mean, I figured it out a long time ago. I said, "Man, how did I do that?" Well, I remember one night I didn't have strap locks on, and I dropped my guitar on stage. It hit the ground, and at the same time, the microphone flew off, and it landed right there. And so that's a microphone grill print. But this, I mean, look at it. That thing's beat up. I mean, it reminds me of Roger Mayer's guitar, kind of, except his is totally thrashed. But this one's cool. But you'd be surprised that the old guitars kind of feel old. They feel like old cars. I mean, this is all I've been playing lately, and because surprisingly, this one has the best intonation out of all of them. This is my new guitar. It's just got a ring to it. And one thing I noticed that, the springs, I can hear those things vibrating when I hit this one. I don't know why the springs are so lively back here. So I love this one too. This is a great guitar. I mean, I would recommend these to anybody, and not just the left-handed, but he makes all kinds of strats, the Nash. But they're not cheap, but he does a good job on them. Let's see, I'm getting away from my comments here. Uh-oh, Randy Hansen. Yeah. Eric Gales, I like him. Randy, that's great. I just would not want to be stuck in having to do that my whole life. I mean, it's cool that he does it, but I've heard some of his original music, and I can see why he would do the Hendrix. He does the Hendrix great, so he might as well stick with it. But I just wouldn't want to be stuck having to do somebody else's music my whole life. I mean, that would be rough. But yeah, he does. He's probably one of the best. But there's a couple of bands out there, foreign bands, that do a really good job too. Some of them actually sound better than Randy, but I don't even think they're together anymore. I forgot the name. Yeah, $100 telecopy. Yeah, I'm not too thrilled with my Telecaster, and it's a stinking original '63 because it's real heavy. I wish I'd have had a lighter one. I just happened to buy this one from a friend of mine years and years ago. Yeah, it does have a built-in reverb. Played with. Well, I mentioned Bill Ward, but he was a drummer. As far as guitar players go, we didn't play with Johnny Winter, but we were there with Johnny Winter. Probably, and then Mike Zito, but let's see what, and Zapata, but I didn't play with him either. I was just there with him. So not too many, none real famous, super famous people. Uh, You saw Randy Hansen. Original stuff, no good. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, the road worn 60 Strats. I think yeah, I've looked at those before. They do look pretty cool. No, I never saw Hendrix. So I didn't go to a whole bunch of concerts. You know, and half of them I can't remember. You know, that was in the 70s, I think. Let's see. Well, yeah, my Telecaster. Yeah, actually, I've got another Telecaster that I bought, and my friend confiscated it from me, and it's still in California, and that's probably a better Telecaster than I've got here. It was like a '68. I think he still has it, but well, okay, you know, guys, I think we'll go. I didn't realize that this was going to happen, but it's fun, and I'm glad it did. We'll have to come up with a plan of attack here and try to figure out what we can do to be constructive. Um, I'll try to help you guys. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, the first thing you got to do is get a good guitar and a good amp, and then you just start from there. But I had a guy that had been watching my channel for a long time, and he just bought a vintage basement on Reverb.com, and I tried to get him to offer them a lot less than what they were asking, but I think he bought it, and I haven't heard from him. And it was getting up in the close to the $9,000 range. So I don't want you guys to do that. I mean, I think he could have probably bought that thing for 7, but I don't know. 9,000 is asking too much. Some of these people you'll see in 12, 13,000, they're just dreaming. You don't want to do that. But if you ever get the chance to buy a good amp, you really got to be careful and make sure it's what you want. Frank Marino. I'm probably too old for Frank. I don't remember him. I mean, I just sometimes listened to him over the last couple of years, and I haven't listened to him much, so I don't. I'm not real familiar with him. Every time I hear his name, I'll go look him up on YouTube. Uh, Yeah, it looks like $9,000, but he wanted it bad, and he had me look at the pictures, the photos of it, and since I've looked at these things so many times now, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting screwed. It looked like a nice one. The only problem was the speakers, but they were supposedly original, but they didn't have the bell covers on them on the bottom too, so that kind of made me leery. But yeah, that's why I said to offer him less money. Because it has to have the bell covers. To me, they should have them. Well, okay, you guys, I'm gonna go. At least I got this thing working. I'm sure glad I had so many people. This was fun. I didn't think anybody was gonna be here. I just wanted to see if somebody could hear me, but I got that figured out. All right, well, now I got to figure out how to sign out. This might take me a couple of hours, but you guys be good. And I'll try to do something Saturday. I'm going to try to do it Saturday, maybe. Okay? I think I'm out here. There we go. How do I turn that off?